Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. We continue from where we have started. We stopped at the beginning or the introduction of the Surah of Al-Nazi'at. فالله سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يقول والنازعات غرقا والناشطات نشطا والسابحات سبحا فالسابقات سبقا فالمدبرات أمرا. There's three aspects that we have mentioned that the scholar of the tafsir referring to. So the first thing, they are the angels. The second, so it is the action of the angels of taking the souls, of moving or making the tadbir, etc. Then the second is the stars orbiting, moving in the celestial bodies and so on. Then we have the camels, the horses, the archers in a war, fighting in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have, subhanallah, this holistic movement and action from the highest point in the universe to the very mere action of a soldier fighter in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the action of the angels. And this action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making qasam with it. So what is the qasam? Is to swear, is an oath. So we are waiting for the khabar, for jawabu for qasam, the answer of this qasam, of this oath. So because one is the answer of the oath and the literal meaning of it. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا, and you think about the rapid movement of the angels, the way how they managing, the way how they doing, the way how are fulfilling and carrying out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands. On the other hand, you think of the stars. On the other hand, you think about the fighters, the soldiers in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All this cannot be moving or acting or doing all this, subhanallah, this rapid movement that you can imagine aimlessly and without a purpose. So there is something is going to happen. Everything is working on a certain course for a determined objective and seeking to get to it. Angels, stars, the creation, and then the believers fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is Jawab al-Qasam? After all the series of the Qasam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ, the day when the quaking blast will come to pass. So everything is going to one point. It's like, subhanAllah, something is boiling to come to an end. Something is cooking, something is subhanAllah, is traveling. أَلَا إِلَى اللَّهِ تَصِيرُ الْأُمُورِ. Everything is turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the meaning when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He created everything with the truth and for the truth. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we didn't create the heaven and the earth لَعِبِينَ, just for a jest or for joking. It's for the truth. What is the truth? It's the day where justice is going to be established. The day where the judgment is going to happen for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to settle things according to His way subhanahu wa ta'ala, the swift and the all just reckoning among the people and the humankind. Now, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ, so the point to which angels, creation, stars, believers, non-believers, all their end point is going to come to Jawab al-Qasam. It's like, subhanAllah, this is the answer of all this series of oath. يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. So this is the answer of the oath, and the literal meaning is warning. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making a qasam to warn us, to have you first reflect from and have your mind and your thinking to go very high in the horizons of the cosmos, in the vast horizon of the cosmos, to the very close to you, the soldier who's fighting, to the angels around you that you believe in their existence but you do not see them. To all of it, it comes to this point, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. So he's saying here, the underlying message is the certainty of the resurrection. So there is a message here. The message is that this rajf of the Rajifa, this quaking of the earth, this big quake of the earth that is going to happen, this is going to come with no doubt. SubhanAllah, how many times we have heard about earthquake. These earthquakes are happening according to Allah's will, according to Allah's, how He said the law of the physics for these things to happen. But the earth has its own quake. It's totally different than all the other quakes. قال إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. Zilzalha is its own quake. So this is specific to the earth itself. It's not by influence by the whatever happened on top of the crest and under the crest of the earth. Nothing to do with all of that. This is the zalzala. This is the earth. He says, this is my quake. This is the end of the quake. This is the last message that I have to convey by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here قال يوم ترجف الراجفة. قال أبت واجفة, which is the قلوب. قال هنا it is well understood that يوم ترجف الراجفة refers to the day of judgment. And it has been described in many previous verses such when the earth shakes in Surah Al-Zalzalah. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. In this answer, there is an amplification of the day of resurrection, emphasizing its certainty with the brevity, in a very brief words, concise words. يوم ترجف الراجفة. So, emphasizing, amplifying the certainty of the day of judgment, or the coming of the day of judgment, with this brevity in speech that combines both the warning of its occurrence and the caution regarding what will unfold on that day. Warning and what is going to happen. And this is one of the, subhanAllah, the subtle, eloquent way of the Quran. يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. Then وقدم الظرف على متعلق لأن ذلك الظرف هو الأهم في جواب القسم لأنه المقصود إثبات وقوعه. And then here we have the time expression. It has been mentioned first, يوم, and that's it designated here as answer to the oath that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made. Because the most important here is that Yawma serves as a time expression linked to Wajifa. And the Wajifa, we're going to come to it. So trembling or quaking, indicating that what is being sworn to is the certainty of the resurrection. So this is indirect expression is more impactful to the disbeliever than directly stating the answer to the oath, as it alludes to the terrifying events of that day. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. تتبعها الرادفة, followed by a second blast. And then directly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell you the state of the hearts. قال, the heart on that day will be trembling in horror. قلوب يومئذ واجفة. Now subhanallah, this particular heart, they're going to be terrified, they're going to be in horror. It comes following this quake. Is there any heart who will not be trembling in horrified and trembling if they witness an earthquake? Everybody will be terrified. But subhanallah, this day, not everybody. Only the disbelievers. So imagine, subhanallah, the heart of the believer will be filled with peace and tranquility in the time when the blast is going to happen. قال قلوب يومئذ is like some, not all of them. قلوب يومئذ واجفة. So here we continue. قال أولا والرجف. First, what it mean الرجف? الرجف هو الاضطراب والاهتزاز. الرجف means shaken, quivering, and the verb ترجف will quake. قال ترجف الراجفة is attributed to الراجفة, and الراجفة, subhanallah, what quakes. And Allah put it here in in a term like which the quaking, which is literal. So rajifa is interpreted as the earth which shakes and trembles due to the earthquakes that occur at the end of the world, transitioning to the afterlife. So this quake is actually the transition to the new life, which is the afterlife, which is the day of judgment. So this is supported by the verses as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال يوم ترجف الأرض والجبال in Surah Al-Muzammil وقال إذا رجت الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا. So all of this are the signs of the end of these words to succeed or to come after the next word. The next word. قال هنا the term رادفة قال تتبعها الرادفة refers to the second quake following the first one. Another interpretation is that الراجفة is the first blast of the trumpet, which will cause the earth, the mountains, and all creatures to tremble, and those in the heaven and the earth will fall unconscious except whom Allah wills. The Radifa is the second blast, which will revive them and they will be gathered for judgment. How many blasts there will be? There will be 3 blasts. The first, Al-Faza', the second, As-Sa'q, the third is Al-Ba'th. The first one is in Surah Al-Naml. قال ففزع من في السماوات ومن في. They all be terrified. Then comes after it the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Zumar وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَصَعِقَ. Everybody would die. Everybody. Except whom Allah will, and according to the scholar of the Tafseer, those Allah created in paradise. Then قال ثم نفخ فيه أخرى فإذا هم قيام ينظرون. Then it has been blown in it a second time or a last time, because this will be the third time. Then everyone will be resurrected for the judgment. So this قال تتبعها الرادفة التالي يقول ردفة الرادفة which what comes after. Radifa refers to something that follows or is next in line. Radifa قال كان ردفه, he's behind him riding, etc. It is derived from the verb radafa, meaning to follow. In the Quran, al-radifa is used to describe something that follows, such as in the verse, indeed I'm sending you. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah, قال I'm sending you 1,000 of angels. ألف من الملائكة مردفين. مردفين come to as a reinforcement in Surah Al-Anfal. In this context, تتبعها الرادفة refers then to the second quake following the first one. The meaning is that radifa is the same kind as the first quake, and both are symbolic of the two blasts of the trumpet as described in the both surah that we mentioned, beside the blast of al-faza, as the trumpet will be blown and all those in the heaven and the earth will fall unconscious except whom Allah wills. Then it will be blown again and they will rise up looking. This is Surah Zumar, the ayah that I have mentioned earlier. قال تتبعها الرادفة قلوب. Here قلوب. Subhanallah, you see in the Quran how many times Allah speaks about the hearts. The hearts are the most important thing that you have in your life. Who you are is your heart. What defines us is our heart. It's not your name, it's not your face, no, it's your heart. One's heart make a person the closest to Allah, and one's heart make a person the farthest to Allah. Subhanallah. It's one's heart. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, just before Islam, he was far from Allah. After Islam, he was close to Allah. He's the same. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the same. قال Abu Bakr, when he told him, you were Jabbar fil Jahiliyyah. Jabbar is like a tyrant in Jahiliyyah. He became the just in Islam. What is the difference between Umar before Islam and Umar after Islam? Is the heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praising his servant Ibrahim, قال إذ جاء ربه بقلب سليم. So what defined Ibrahim is the sound heart that he has. And subhanallah, the heart are the storage of stores the emotions, the love, the fear, the security, the insecurity. All of that is in the heart. فالله سبحانه وتعالى وانتلك قال قلوب يومئذ. And التنكير here came without a ta'rif. تنكير قلوب. He didn't say the hearts. He said hearts. Today, قال كثيرا, because there are a lot of these hearts. قلوب, a lot. But not all of them. ولذلك وقع مبتدأ وهو نكر لإرادة النوعية, to give us Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a specific type of heart they're going to be in this situation. And this is here, as he's saying here, قال قلوب المشركين الذين كانوا يجحدون البعث فإنهم إذا قاموا فعلموا أن ما وعدهم الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم به حق توقعوا ما كان يحذرهم منه من عقاب إنكار البعث والشرك. These hearts, as soon as they're going to be resurrected, they're going to realize what the Prophet ﷺ told them, what they have read in the Quran, what the believers today is saying to non-believers, warning them, reminding them that it was the truth. that's where they're going to be terrified. The believer, when in the day of resurrection, after this quaking, they realize that is wa'ad Allahi haqq. Said, Alhamdulillah, that the promise of Allah is the promise of the truth. That's what makes you, subhanAllah, to be overwhelmed with the joy. فأما قلوب المؤمنين فإن فيها اطمئنانا متفاوتا بحسب تفاوتهم في التقوى. So the tranquility of the believers, they have varying degrees of tranquility depending on their piety in the dunya. Subhanallah. The more piety you gain in this life, the more tranquility you will be in the day of resurrection. The more tranquility you will have. The more certainty you have in the fulfillment of Allah's promise, the better situation you will be in the day of judgment. That's why working on your certainty today into your heart, that what is going to embellish your state in the akhirah. And we say embellish your state in the akhirah from all the perspectives. You're not going to be scared. You're not going to be terrified. You're not going to be trembling. You're not going to be in horror. You're not going to be of any of this. Why? Because you were sure that you're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you read this ayah and you read the state of these hearts, قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. I mean, in this state, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. So what is واجفة? واجفة مضطربة من الخوف. مضطربة من الخوف. Trembling or shaking due to fear. Can you imagine the inner self is trembling? The inner heart is trembling out of fear. So, because wajafa means to shake, tremble, especially due to fear or anxiety. So it is used to describe something that is disturbed or agitated. قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. So in the context, wajifa is the predicate for qulub. Wajifa, this qulub, wajifa, describing them as trembling and disturbed due to fear. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَجُمْلَةْ أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ. Now comes to the al-absar, their eyes humbled. It serves as a second predicate for qulub. This further clarifies one point, the intended meaning of wajifa, because wajifa, to give you more specification how they've been trembling, how they are, subhanAllah, terrified by fear, they cannot even lift their eyes up. Their eyes are humbled down. قال, by adding that is not only the heart that are in turmoil, but also the eyes of the people, indicating a complete state of fear and humility, where the eyes are downcast in submission. This is a very scary day. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, describe for us things that no one can describe. Describe for us the inner state of oneself in the day of judgment, the one who didn't or neglected the coming of the day of judgment, or he believed other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has conveyed. The meaning of khushu', الخشوع قال حقيقته الخضوع والتذلل وهو هيئة للإنسان ووصف الأبصار بها مجازا في الانخفاض والنظر من طرف خفي من شدة الهلع والخوف. Usually الخشوع means submission, abasement, means خضوع, to submit, to show humility. This is referring to a state of a being as a human being. But it is physical posture often described in terms of lowering one's gaze or body. However, so the description of the eyes to be in a state of khushu', humbled, is a metaphorical, way, in a metaphorical way, indicating that they are downcast in fear and dread due to the terrifying events they witness. So for us as a believer, to conclude, when you read all the series of oaths, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the description of the hearts of the deniers, قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ. As a believer, your goal is to avoid to have your heart among these hearts. Right? So, how these people, they used to be? يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take you back to the life. And you see how they are mocking, how they are ridiculing the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how they are denying the message of Allah, how they live their life not considering this great day. And for us, inshallah we'll continue this next time, but for us as a believer, if you do not go to sleep, if a day you go to sleep without thinking of this day, then your next day will be, subhanallah, it will have a lot of shortcomings. Why? Because what regulates our path is the thinking of this day. It is, subhanallah, for this reason the believer wakes into the morning to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that waking up is like waking for, like after death, it's like a resurrection. And the first thing you do, you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do it daily with mindfulness, then you are certain that you're going to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in person in the Day of Judgment. So every day you wake up in the morning to pray Fajr, and before that, before you go, you know that you're going to die and you're going to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We better today go in our heart trembling for that day, for your heart to be comforted. Because if today our heart is comforted, we think that we are saved, that we made it, then we're going to have this qulubun wajifah, because we've been lying to ourselves. For may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us the true khushu' in our heart and the true khushu' in our soul, and help us to always be mindful of this great day, to be ready, insha'Allah ta'ala, to stand before of Allah, and He will be pleased with us. Jazakumullahu khairan, barakallahu.